I actually think I laugh more watching your movies in a theater with other people, and I cry more and get angrier watching them at home.
Okay.
Do you ever think about it? And it only occurs to me because of the release on DVD, and I have done both. So do you ever think that about the theater versus the DVD experience for your stuff?
God. I'm so glad you brought this up. I think about this all the time. And in fact, even though the DVD is out now 2 days ago, I'm opposed to DVDs.
What do you
frankly, because I'm a filmmaker. I make these movies for you to do exactly what you just said, to go and sit in a theater in a dark room with 200 strangers and have a communal experience. And I worry about that very thing I can't believe you said that people, when you get this at home, watching it alone, the worst thing that can happen when people see a film of mine is to be, at the end of it, filled with such a sense of despair and hopelessness that they just go, what's the use? I can't make a change. I'm only one person. Let's watch Dancing with the Stars.
And that's what you do. At the end of Capitalism, a Love Story, you ask people to go out and get active. And then the lights come up, and you stand there. And
you're alone in your apartment or your house.
Well, yeah, but if you're in the theater, then you have hundreds of people who might be strangers but are probably like-minded to connect with.
And you walk out of the theater, and suddenly strangers start talking to each other, and then somebody asks the guy behind the candy counter, do you have any pitchforks or torches? And then, but I mean, that's my fantasy. I really want, that's what I want. And I think as the art of this, too, as a filmmaker, we make these for you to see it in this environment. You're not meant to see the Mona Lisa on a postage stamp. If I want to make a TV show, and I've done that, then that's okay. But I want people to see this, and frankly, that's how I rent in very few DVDs, because I always try to see the movies in a movie theater.
And you talk about some Bush supporters sending you their stuff, you of all people. And I guess grassroots America, in a way, is really scrambled right now because, as it turns out, you are not the only person railing about foreclosure relief in 2009. Another person, kind of with different politics, was Rick Santelli, that guy on CNBC whose rant against foreclosure relief, foreclosure relief, is said to have helped ignite the Tea Party movement. Here's a few seconds of the essence of that.
Yeah.
How about this, President and new administration? Why don't you put up a website to have people vote on the internet as a referendum to see if we really want to subsidize the losers' mortgages? This is America. How many of you people want to pay for your neighbor's mortgage that has an extra bathroom and can't pay their bills? Raise their hand. How about we all? President Obama, are you listening?
The sound of angry white guys. Yeah. Wafting its way through the airwaves.
Well, for me, the contrast between you and Santelli in those two clips is very symbolic of the country right now. Did you pay attention to the Santelli moment, and more important, the reaction to it?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, obviously, that was a pivotal moment for that. But if you notice, what he's railing against is he's blaming the whole mortgage and crisis on the little guy who took out a mortgage he shouldn't have taken out, living beyond his means, having a home with too many bathrooms. When in fact, as my movie points out, the FBI, of all people, have stated clearly through their own investigation that 80% of this mortgage crisis that we've gone through has been caused by the banks and the lending institutions, by the fraud committed by the banks and the lending institutions, not by the person who's living beyond their means. There's always been people who live beyond their means that shouldn't be spending money. I mean, that is not a new thing. You probably have someone in your family who does that. I have someone. It may even be you, Brian. I don't know, but that's not a new thing, and it never caused a financial collapse before. This collapse was caused by the people right down the street here who took people's mortgages, divided them up 1,000 ways, bundled them, and sold them off to people in China and Russia and everywhere else. And that's in part why we're suffering through this. Not the way Santelli presented it was, a classist, bigoted way of presenting it.
So how do you explain to yourself that, and I realize part of the Tea Party movement is fake, but there is a part of grassroots America that really responded to that and is angrier about struggling homeowners being helped by the government than struggling homeowners being kicked out? And there might even be some overlap with the kind of people who get what you do.
But that's nothing new. I mean, I remember ever since I was a kid, I can remember people complaining about those people in the inner city who are getting help, people on welfare. Oh, look at them driving the Cadillac down the street and they're on welfare. You know, I mean, this kind of bigotry is not new, and it's very easy. I mean, that Santelli moment, I mean, if you watch that, and if you just wanted to wind the clock back 70, 80 years, whipping up people who are hurting because of the economy and blaming it on essentially their fellow citizens as opposed to the leadership, the political leadership and the corporate leadership, it's a very, very easy thing to do. And it's why this is actually kind of a scary time. If liberals and the left don't have a plan, don't have a program, don't have something to offer to these people who are hurting and suffering, they will be easily manipulated by the right.
Capitalism, a Love Story. One of the most eye-popping moments for me was the soundbite you had of your namesake, no relation, Stephen Moore, from the Wall Street Journal editorial board and the free market lobby group Club for Growth, talking about capitalism and democracy. And listeners, if you didn't see Capitalism, a Love Story, listen to Stephen Moore here very closely.
I think capitalism is a lot more important than democracy. I'm not even a big believer in democracy. I always say that democracy can be two wolves and a sheep deciding on what to have for dinner. Now, look, I'm in favor of people having the right to vote and things like that. But, you know, there are a lot of countries that have the right to vote that are still poor. Democracy doesn't always lead to a good economy or even a good political system. With capitalism, you are free to do what you want, to make whatever you want out of yourself. It doesn't mean you're going to succeed. Remember, the U.S. Constitution does not guarantee happiness.
And that was such an unusually candid moment.
Don't you love the honesty?
That I asked Stephen Moore about it on our show. And he said,
I'm for democracy and capitalism, but I think the most important thing is that we have a free enterprise system that allows businesses to expand and entrepreneurs to start businesses, and it does not have a maximum amount of government interference, because we owe our prosperity in this country to the free enterprise system, even more than the system of democracy.
So you would take a country like current
Singapore.
China?
I would take a country like Singapore, which is not very democratic, over a country like I don't know, some of these poor countries that are democratic.
Wow.
Candid guy.
You got to appreciate that.
And very influential in the world. Do you want to continue the conversation?
He is on the editorial board of the Wall Street Journal, and that is how the street thinks. I mean, you heard it right there. And I have two thoughts about this. One is, and this is just a personal thought, why is it that you have to wait till my camera comes along to hear him? Because you see him on TV all the time. He's a pundit. You never hear that on the punditry shows. Something is wrong where we are not hearing that honest voice from his side on the evening news. We should not have to rely on a guy who just has a high school education and wearing a ball cap when he has a full head of hair and he doesn't need the ball cap to find these things out. And I just am begging the mainstream media to do their job, because I didn't need to make any commentary there. I didn't need to have an argument with him. He makes the argument, and you can sit there and listen to him describe why he thinks capitalism is more important than democracy.
Do you remember where that clip came from? Because I was wondering during the film.
What clip came from?
Of him originally saying that?
That's me.
Oh, he was being interviewed by you?
Well, I had the guy out there in the hallway right now. My people went in with the camera.
I'm from Acme Media.
Yes, and I'm somewhere out around the corner. Because it's hard for me now if they see me coming, they turn white and they run.
But he knew it was your crew?
Well, I don't know how much he you know what? I'll give this to Stephen Moore, that people like him, and I felt the same way about Charlton Heston and Bowling for Columbine. They are such big believers in the things they believe in. They're willing to say it to anybody.